Starting this workshop for the mayor and aldermen, December 2nd, 2014, 5 o'clock. Looks like everyone's present. This workshop is for the regular meeting on December the 4th, 2014, regular meeting. I've got the prayer. Alderman Jones, you got the pledge allegiance. In the order of business, look over your minutes for November the 18th, 2014, regular meeting. And we'll have the department reports. Then we'll have a presentation. Then we're going to old business. Old business is second reading ordinance 2014-24, an ordinance to amend Title 20, Chapter 2, Section 20-208 of the Laverne Municipal Code regarding parks and recreation user fee.
Well, basically, that's I wasn't here for the last meeting, but I believe there was a reading on that as well. Just adjusting the fees to keep up with everybody and all the other parks and recreation departments around us, so that we can continue to keep the fields up and you know, stay on par with everything and everybody else.
People working on television, and this is just for the ball leagues.
Just for tournaments. As far as recreation leagues, it won't have anything to do with that. But for tournament fees, just small increases here and there, and for cleaning fees and gate fees and stuff like that. It's nothing, you know, major.
Anybody need to have any discussion on it? Moving on to the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda is deemed to be non-controversial and routine, all in nature by a governing body. They will be proven by the one motion of the governing body. The items as on the consent agenda will not be discussed at the meeting, but we can discuss it here at the workshop. A, approve recommendation for city bids and purchases. Number one, repair to high mast lighting and street pole lighting at I-24 and Walden Road.
This has been fixed. At the time, we thought lightning had hit it. I had no lights. We have to keep up the lights on the interstate between the city limits. We had no lights there. We thought lightning had hit it. And when they got out there, I got a bid quote. I mean, I didn't get a bid quote because they don't know what's wrong with them until they get out there. I got a PO for $1,000 just to get it started, and they have worked on them several times for us. And them checking on them all, one of the control panels inside of it was fried. But we do have, it was covered. It wasn't hit by lightning. But we've got old wires out there. They've been there several years. I think the last time I had them worked on, they said that the wires are so brittle they couldn't tell, you know, where the good ones and the bad ones. They just had to pull new wires. But this went over the $5,000 to be approved by council. I think it come out to be like $8,000 to get all the lights repaired, and at this time they are working. We do have 2 poles down out there. One of them I have an accident report on. It's from a trucking company out of Bowling Green, Kentucky. I think it happened a couple weeks ago. I've got their information, been trying to get in touch with them. I think it was like $3,800 to get it fixed, but it's not on this bid quote here. The other one.
It's not on this agenda?
No. It's something I always try to get an accident report and call the insurance companies and try to get them for it, and then it just comes back into the general fund. I'm gonna go short.
Any discussion on item 1 of the consent agenda? B, approval and submittal of the application for the assistance to the firefighters grant. Chief, you wanna speak on this one?
With us being municipal now, it's presented a very unique opportunity by the federal government. as I discussed last time, this is the AFG grant. They have a section category in there this year's vehicle acquisition. If we were to elect to purchase a new pumper, it would go into reserve, again, with a 90% funded grant from FEMA. And I'll go over the pros and cons with you briefly and then entertain questions. I've done some studying. In fact, I've worked on this grant, Chief Clark and I, all afternoon. It is complete. All we need to have is approval and hit the submit button. It goes to the government. Right now, this has no bearing on any of the new equipment we're getting. This would put us getting a new pumper solely as reserve. The pumper would run in the neighborhood of $475,000 to $550,000 with a 10% match from us. In the end, the biggest pros to it, it would reduce maintenance cost of our reserve equipment. Further down the line, 3 or 4 years from now, we decide to build another fire station anywhere in the city, you'd always have the biggest expense equipment for it. Now, this grant is based on current fleet. The average age of our current fleet is 18.4 years, which by federal guidelines would make us a shoe-in for this grant. It's a unique opportunity. It's only going to happen this year because next year if we apply for it, with the new equipment coming in, the age discrepancy there in the equipment, you won't be able to even qualify for it. Down the road, when we go for an ISO rating, it's going to look mighty good to have a brand new reserve pumper plus an aerial apparatus in reserve. We'd reduce the ISO. Right now, Chief and I have not done an appraisal on it. We're thinking possibly a 2. That in turn would reduce the insurance premiums on both citizens, commercial and industrial, heavily. I can't give you a percentage because right now I don't know where we'd land. Looking at it down the road, you're looking at a 15-year lifespan on these new pumpers. They meet federal emissions, and it would be a great investment for the city. But let me warn you, it's only going to happen this year. It's something I think we need to talk about. We need to consider. We've got till Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to submit the grant. Like I said, it's already done. I went ahead and done it today. But this to me kind of is a no-brainer. When you get something for $500,000 and you have 10% match, you probably need to go ahead and do it because it's only going to show up one time. We are, given our demographics, our population, and the population determines the match. Our population rated now is 34,210 by the federal government. It's 10%. So this is something. Now, with that, once you're awarded the grant, you have 1 year to purchase. In the event you decide you do not wish to purchase, you can return the federal grant money to FEMA. However, that money must be put in a non-interest bearing account during that period. So in other words, you can't make money or interest off the federal money. But you have a very unique opportunity right here to get a first-class piece of fire apparatus for little or no cost. Questions?
Anybody got any questions?
I'm just amazed that you said that after this is all through and everything we've done, our ISO is going to drop to 2, or that's what you're estimating. And
I can't guarantee you a 2. I'm pretty well certain we could hit a 3. Even if you funded this thing, and I mean, I don't know. Right now, we're looking at our budget, to see if we could do it. But bear in mind, you have 1 year to purchase. We would have to go through the normal City of Laverne purchasing policy, take bids and everything. But here it is. Once we decide, and we've already decided which engine would be out of service. The other added benefit to that, we could take that piece of apparatus, because by federal standards, it cannot run emergency traffic anymore. In other words, it's retired. But on the flip side, we could keep it here in the city, use it for parades, We could even conduct our own pump classes here, which would save about $385 per student. Now, opening that up to Rutherford County, I don't have to sit here and give you the math. But that pumper could be used for a training pumper. We could keep it, however, it cannot ever be a first-line pumper again. We're looking to retire one that would be the 99 pumper that's located at Station 1 now. But you have a unique opportunity to replace a 15-year-old piece of equipment with a brand new for pennies on the dollar. But Mr. Broker, and the answer to your question, we feel pretty comfortable with a 3, and very well we could go to a 2. There is not a lot of cities in this country that have a brand new pumper sitting in reserve, and it would be fully equipped. In other words, one goes down tonight or something happens, you back this one in the hall, the guys put their personal equipment on it, you're ready to roll.
I think in the state, that would put you, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the top 5% or better, maybe even better than that.
Currently, there's 6 departments in the state of Tennessee that has a 2. East Ridge was just added not long ago, and Lebanon.
And explain again what that means to our residents and to our businesses.
The jump now, I believe we're a 5. From a 5 to a 2 would be anywhere, depending on the carrier, on the insurance broker or the carrier, anywhere from 3 to 20% savings on homeowners insurance premiums, commercial, industrial. Burger King would see up to a 20% drop. I'm just example.
And definitely would be a draw for potential retailers that are looking to this area.
Yes.
We're also working, it's not ready as of tonight, but we've been dealing with 7 to 8 different insurance carriers, and obviously we're not going to put those insurance companies' names out there, but hopefully by next month or prior to that, I can get with each one of you board members and Bruce and show you, but we're doing some comparisons on the new water line installation with what homeowners may be missing out on, not notifying their insurance companies about having a hydrant within 1,000 feet. We already know one homeowner in Laverne has saved $200 a year annual premium on his fire insurance. That's something that we need the taxpayers to know, is that they need to notify their insurance companies. But we're doing some comparison information right now on those things. What a 5 to a 3 and a 5 to a 2 means in ISO ratings over multiple insurance companies, as well as the new hydrants being within 1,000 feet of the homes, these new 2-inch lines being upgraded to 6-inch. We're trying to do some comparison charts on that so that we can get it out to the public so that they can see the differences that can be made by the forward movement that the city's been making. You know, it's not always just about taxes and things like that. Sure, your taxes doubled and it went here, but with all the infrastructure improvements that have been made and all the improvements in emergency services, especially fire, you could be saving in other areas there that's going to totally and completely offset where your taxation went. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but a $200 decrease in my homeowner's premium for a fire hydrant within 1,000 feet of my house, that definitely would have offset my taxes going up. So we want the public to be able to see these things, but from a 5 down to a 3 or to a 2, obviously in commercial and industrial, it's going to be a big drop, a huge drop. From a class 9 down to a class 5 is where you get the biggest savings in your residential areas. You still get some reductions in residential insurance premiums as you go down towards a class 1, but from a 5 down to a 1 is definitely where you start seeing commercial and industrial savings in their insurance premiums and drawing retail. So also keep in mind, this is money that we're going to look through our budget as we move on towards our next fiscal year. As he said, as Chief said, we have 1 year to look at this. If we don't want to do it and we don't have the money to do it when the time comes, we just return the money back. We're not obligated as long as we're not within, you know, we don't use out that year. But also remember, we have our first year municipal budget. We had to go off of a lot of numbers that we didn't have definite numbers on. We're already seeing some trends in some of our line items to where we could cut more than likely enough money to pay for that 10% match right there without increasing 1 penny in our fire budget. And that would be what we would be looking at. My intent is not to come back and ask you for $5 more in order to buy that pump. If we can't do it, we'll throw it out. But as Chief is telling you, this is a one-time opportunity, because once that new fleet of equipment's in here, that grant goes off the board for at least 20 years. So, and obviously, that truck is already 14 years old. At 15, NFPA says, hey, start getting ready to look at putting this truck out of service. So at some point, we're going to be looking at having to do something for a reserve piece of equipment. And when we say reserve, since these are televised meetings, I want everybody to understand, just because it's a piece of reserve equipment does not mean that equipment doesn't do anything on a daily basis. If you have major fires and we're calling in off-duty personnel, they use that equipment to answer those calls as well. A truck goes down for preventive maintenance. This truck is the truck that moves up in its place. So it's not just a truck that sits in a warehouse somewhere, and if a truck breaks down, you use it. This truck will be in service all the time. It's just listed as a reserve. So there's a lot of equations there to come into play.
One thing, bear in mind also, if you elect to go this route, which is a very good route, you'd still have the sale of some fire apparatus coming back into the coffers of the city. So,
Correct.
in other words, to make a long story short and cut through the hull, get straight to the nut, the taxpayers wouldn't have to pay for this. I mean, I think we could arrange it, but you're never going to get this opportunity again. Do you have any questions, sir?
Anybody else got any more questions? Does this truck come fully equipped with lights, and is it a bare truck?
Sir, I have went, and I probably, Chief Clark and I did today, to make a long story short, I bid the best one out there. And it will match what's coming in with this fleet. But yes, it's the most safest in the crash industry test. If you're asking, it's Fleetwood Broham fire trucks.
Thank you, Chief.
Yep.
Next is C, approve the meeting schedule for 2015. Everybody needs to look over it. Any changes need to be done, we can get with Bruce and we can change it between now and Thursday.
Mayor, on this one, we do have some conflicts that we'll need to address. For instance, starting in January, we're looking to move City Court over to this room from the multi-purpose building, and that will create some conflicts with the Economic Development Advisory Committee and with the Local Emergency Planning Committee. So those two monthly meetings will definitely need to be moved to either a morning meeting or to another night of the month. Other than that, the schedule is pretty much standard. Because we're also looking to move the Planning Commission workshop over here to City Hall so that it can be filmed. But in order to make that change, we're going to have to move the beer board meetings, because several months of the year they fall on the same night. So those are some of the changes we're looking to make, and we'll still have to work on a little bit. But other than that, the schedule's pretty much the same as what it usually is.
Thank you, Bruce. Any more questions on the schedule?
Would we be able to move the workshop to 5:30 instead of 5?
I think I mentioned that to Bruce last week.
We can have the workshops at whatever time. I'll have to check the municipal code. I think it specifies the starting time, so that would require an ordinance change. So let me check on that, and I'll get back to you on that. But yeah, it can be done.
If I remember in 2004, it seemed like to me we started at 5, but we had to, if we ate between 5 and 5:30.
No, we started we've always started the citizen forum at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
And sometimes that went until 5:30.
Okay.
But
That might be something to check on, since we've got 3 board members that it works. That might be helpful.
I'll probably move this item down under new business for the meeting Thursday night.
Yeah.
That way we can discuss it Thursday night, and as far as the different changes. And if it does require an ordinance change, if it's okay with this board, I'll try and get that on for first reading for Thursday night as well.
Okay.
And that way we can go ahead and start that process, because it'll be the December and January meetings. to change that, and then we could actually start the time change in February.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on to D, approve application for a Homeland Security Grant to purchase a decontamination trailer. I guess that'd be the fire.
Like Chief Culverson and Chief McCormick has said, we, being a municipality department, we're able to tap into some of the federal grant processes, one of these being the Homeland Security Grant. This request to submit this grant will be for a decontamination trailer. Our hazmat techs, whenever they make entry into a hazardous material incident, there are other people that need to be outfitted as well to get the contaminants off of them. Also, in the event that we have a large spill or patients are contaminated in any way, we're allowed to take care of those victims that need to be decontaminated. So we have a lot of this equipment, 99.9% of the equipment already currently at our station. However, no means of transportation. The equipment is in great shape. We just need some transportation. And I think one of the cheapest ways of transporting that would be a trailer. Are there any questions?
Anybody got more questions?
How much does the grant cover?
100%.
It's a good number.
That's one of those great ones right there, understand?
I do like that number.
100% covered.
At 90 and 100%, they're hard to find out there.
That's-
100%.
Thank you, Chief. Moving on to E, approve change order number 1 for East Hurricane Creek Drainage Basin Sewer System Rehab Project. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Aldermen. I'm Neil Hall with CTI Engineers, for those of you who don't know me, and we have been providing professional consulting services for the Laverne wastewater collection system for the past 15 years. We currently have a project underway for sewer rehab in the East Hurricane Creek Drainage Basin. We have a local contractor whose bid price was $332,285. During the course of the construction of the rehabilitation, we've determined that we are going to underrun that contract. We have overestimated some of our quantities, and we've worked with the contractor and the city's inspector to combine some items to lower the amount of cost that the city is facing for that project. At the same time, we have 2 more issues that we need to address. And so the change order that you have before you is to raise 2 manholes that are underneath the creek, get them up 4 feet so that they can be accessed, and to replace an 8-inch gravity sewer along International Drive. The sewer on International Drive has been one of the sources of exceedances with Metro Water System for a number of years. Public Works has repeatedly repaired that line, and it continues to fail even after it's been repaired. We believe at this point in time the best way to get in line with Metro's wishes and not have these exceedances on that meter point is to replace that line. This change order is for $94,150, but we believe with the underruns, we estimate that when the project is over, even with this change order approved, we're going to come under about $12,000 lower than the original bid price. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to letter F, is approve engineer services agreement with Wiser Consultants for the Murfreesboro Road near Schreiben intersection improvement project. I guess that's the one down by Kentucky Fried Chicken.
It is, Mayor. We have been working with Wiser on some possible solutions to some of the issues in that area. Of course, we know we need to have a right-hand turn lane coming off of near Schreibman onto Murfreesboro Road going towards Nashville. And that is one of the items that is in this proposal. We're also looking at extending the left turn lane on the southbound portion of Murfreesboro Road, turning onto near Schreibman Boulevard. This is the design proposal. It also includes doing some additional studies as far as collecting traffic data. And then, of course, the design, the signal phasing will be a part of this. They're going to help us with the bidding process, and the total cost for this proposal is $26,600. The funding for this, we discussed several months ago, and actually set aside some funding in this newest bond issue to go towards this project. The estimated project cost is right around $150,000. Of course, we won't know exactly what it is until it is bid out, but this starts the process, and hopefully, you know, by mid to late spring, we can actually be starting to make those improvements to this intersection, and hopefully by middle to late summer, it will be completed, and people will be a lot happier going through that intersection.
Oh, yeah,
That'll be a
everybody
great
will.
It's a lot
thing
of
because it's
issues with
terrible
that
there.
intersection.
Anybody else got any comments? I know I sat down there one night at the parking lot of KFC, and I counted the cars southbound turning left. And when the light changed, it was somewhere between 12 and 14 cars that made it through the light. So it's well needed there. It'll help a lot.
One of the problems we've had there is people trying to get through that light. You can only queue about 4 or 5 vehicles in that current turn lane existence, and that is not legal.
Rest of them has had Blockbuster Road.
Exactly.
But that light, 12 to 14 cars, all gonna go through there. And you're right, that turn lane holds about 4 or 5 cars.
And the ideal solution would be to go back to the county line, Kristen, correct me if I'm wrong, but there has been discussion with the planning group, Metropolitan Planning Group, to close those bridges in and actually extend it on back beyond the county line.
Yeah, that would help there a lot. But it's just sending that, right now, just sending that turning lane back to the bridge will help a lot.
Near the bridge.
Yeah.
And that's what they're proposing to do, is take it basically back almost to that bridge.
And we get all kinds of complaints in the mornings. KFC's complained to us about people cutting through the parking lot, and then people complain because they can't turn it in. Laverne didn't do that. That was T-Dot's plan when they did that whole intersection with Walker Road. We tried to talk to them then, Garland did, and I said, fine, this about it. They didn't want to.
I have
It
also,
was based on traffic studies, and obviously it wasn't accurate.
I have also talked with T-Dot about that, and they came out and took some measurements and stuff with, you know, Walden Road took 10 years. If I wait on them, it may be 10 years.
Right, and since we're paying for this completely ourselves, it'll be a much quicker process, and that's why we hope to be able to have it done by sometime this summer, hopefully,
Yeah,
next summer.
it needs doing, sure does. Moving on to new business, number 6, motion to appoint or remove board members. A, Planning Commission, 1 term is vacant.
Yes, sir, this is the former position held by Alderman Jones. Since he now takes the alderman position, we do have several applicants, and this is an appointment by the mayor. It does not require a vote by the board, so it's all up to you, Mr. Mayor.
Moving on to number B, Laverne Housing Authority, 1 term expires 11/30/14.
Right, the term for Ms. Amisha Saluki has expired. I've been trying to get in touch with her to see if she wishes to remain on the board, and I've not been able to get in touch with her. I believe we are advertising this on Channel 3 to accept applications. If I don't have any applications or contact Ms. Saluki by Thursday, I'll take this off the agenda and we'll try to get some applications for next month.
Moving on to number C, Local Emergency Planning Committee, one term is vacant.
This is the Stormwater Department position that Kenneth Perkins used to hold. We are hopefully hiring a new stormwater engineer that will be starting, I believe, the first week of January. So I'm recommending that this be taken off the agenda, brought back in January, and hopefully make that appointment at that time.
So you're gonna take C off, okay.
Yes.
Moving on to D, Beer Board, 2 terms expired, 12/31/14.
These are the terms for David Beach and Kathy Hines. They don't expire till the end of December, but we will contact them to see if they wish to remain on the board. This will not be on the agenda Thursday night. This is just information on it.
FY Greenway Advisory Committee, 1 term expires 12/31/14.
This is the term for Edward Jones. Here again, we will contact him, see if he wishes to remain on the committee, and this will not be on the agenda for Thursday night.
And FY Historic Preservation Advisory Committee, 1 term expires 12/31/14.
This is the term for Vera Lakey. There's a typo on the memo. Carolyn Hickerson is already on this committee. But Vera Lakey's term will expire at the end of December. We'll contact her, and this will not be on the agenda for Thursday.
Number G, FY Library Board, 2 terms expires 12/31/14.
Right, these are the terms for Antonio Cannon and Monteque Luster. We'll make sure they want to stay on the board. Will not be on the agenda Thursday night.
G is removed. Going to H, FY Local Emergency Planning Commission, 6 terms expires 12/31/14.
Right, these are mostly city employees or other agencies, local agencies. Chief Walker, Martin Blair, Chris Schmidt from the Rescue Squad, Thomas Champagne at the water plant, Joey Johnson from the Rutherford County Smyrna Airport Authority, and then the vacant position that used to be Kenneth Perkins in the stormwater. That one does expire in December, so we will hold off until next month and make sure all of these are still able and willing. Some won't have a choice, but we'll bring this back in January.
Let's scratch off H. Moving to I, FY Park and Recreation Advisory Committee. 1 term expires 12/31/14.
This is the term for Laura Davidson. Here again, we'll contact her, see if she wishes to remain. We will be taking applications as well, and that goes for all of these, except for the LEPC. And this will not be on the agenda Thursday night.
Okay, moving on to J, FY Senior Citizen Advisory Committee, 2 terms expired 12/31/14.
Right, there's 2 terms here, Reverend Ezel Garner and James R. Mosley. They will be contacted, and this will not be on the agenda Thursday night.
Moving on to K, FYI Stormwater Appeals and Advisory Board, 1 term expires 12/31/14.
I'll have to double check that. I've got 2 of them highlighted. Henry Freeman and Deborah Edwards, I'm showing their terms expire December 31st, 2014. It will not be on the agenda Thursday night, but we will contact them to see if they wish to remain. And I got to double check the expiration dates on those.
Okay, moving on to number 7, a discussion, AWWA water laws and changes in the state water laws. Phyllis Rogers.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Aldermen. There's been some changes that I'd like to go over with the board, just to bring you up to speed and to explain some of the new requirements that we have by our Wastewater Finance Board. If you'll move on to the next slide. What the Water and Wastewater Finance Board does is they look at our financial report each year. We submit our financial report usually in December, and That financial report goes through the comptroller's office and the Water and Wastewater Board, and they look at our financial report. Used to, there were only two categories that they looked at. They looked to see if we had lost, to determine if we were a distressed system. They would look to see if we had lost money 2 years in a row, or if we had a negative net position, which means that we had lost more money than we ever made. This year, they've added two more categories to that, one being the water loss, which exceeds the current allowable state limit. We've always had to report our water loss. We kind of just used a generic water loss report. Well, now they've come up with a more complicated report, and they've come up with some guidelines. We've never really had the guidelines before, so now they're holding us more accountable than they've ever had before. Along with that, they also have a validity score that we have to meet or have to be within the state allowable limits. And I want to explain a little bit about the water loss and the validity scores. Back in 2012, the Wastewater Board reviewed the American Water Works Association water loss methodology. This is it's a big, huge spreadsheet that basically determines what our water loss is and what our validity score is. They have decided that they liked this report and they wanted to use that in our financial report. So any reports that were filed after January 1st, 2013, we have to use that methodology. As I said, there's two new components to this report. That's water loss and the validity score. The law mandates the methodology did two things. One is the reduction of acceptable water loss over 6 years, and I'll show you a chart here in a few minutes. But what this means is that they are giving us a scale now each year that we have to meet this criteria, and if we don't, they could ding us for being a distressed system or send us some nice nasty letters like we've had in the past. But other things that they've mandated is the use of the validity scores and codes, and those are included in the AWWA spreadsheet. Of course, just a brief explanation of water loss is basically the difference between the purchased or treated water and the amount that was actually billed to our customers. The validity scores, there's a lot of factors that go into the codes and the scores. Basically, they are determined on how well we meter our produced water and the volume that's produced. Our meter accuracy testing, the accuracy of the meters themselves, whether it's a master meter, a residential meter, commercial, industrial meter, the accuracy of logging production. We do that with a SCADA system. There are some systems out there that do not have the SCADA system, so when you have a more complicated system, the better your system is and the higher tech it is, the more it helps your validity score. There is scores that are associated with water imported and exported, and as of right now, as far as I know, we don't do either of those things. The volume of water metered and billed is also graded. The accuracy of our billing is a big important part of this. Tracking of unbilled usage, and when we say unbilled usage, we do have unbilled usage. That would be our flushing, firefighting, street cleaning, etc. One thing that they are looking at is to make sure that we have good policies in place for our billing. They look at our meter testing and replacement program. Right now, we don't really have a documented meter replacement program. I was talking to Bruce about it earlier. Basically, we kind of look at if we start having problems with meters, we do look at the mileage on those meters, and when we have a customer that's getting near the million gallon mark, we do look at that as a possible, problem with that meter, and we do replace those meters. But as far as having anything in writing, I don't think we have anything. And then they also look to make sure that we have a good audit system in place. We do have internal audit, things that we do internally, and we also have auditors that do come in and they do a lot of testing with our water bills and billing registers, and to make sure that we are billing accurate. Other factors that are considered in the AWWA report is the length of mains, the number of service connections, the average length of customer service lines, the operating pressure, the cost of operations, the retail cost of the customer, and variable cost. And the variable cost is simply the cost to supply the next unit of water. I talked earlier about the water loss score and the validity score. On the screen above, you can see that this is the criteria that the state wants us to meet each year for the next, I think it's about 6 years, 5 or 6 years. They want, for 2013-14, they want us to have no more than a 30% water loss and a validity score of 65. And I won't go on to read the rest of it, but you can see they want your water loss to be less each year, and they want your validity score to be higher. On the next page is our current, this is our current AWWA report that we submitted this year with our financial report. You may not can read it real well. Down in the probably the lower section that says performance indicators, under financial indicators, right now we are at a 20.4 water loss rate, which is very good. And then our validity score is 75. And if you'll flip back to that chart before, you'll notice that basically we are doing very well. The state, is not requiring us to have but a 30% water loss, and we're at 20.4, so that's good. So we've exceeded that and having a good water loss rate. And then our validity score is 75, and this year we only have to have a 65, so we've exceeded that. These are really good factors that we're going to report this year. Now we just need to know how to maintain those and keep those factors going. On the last slide I want to discuss is, now that I've given you this information, here's some things of what should we do now. On an annual basis, we need to review the AWWA water loss report. We need to discuss appropriate sections with the water manager, anybody that's associated with water, anybody in the water treatment plant, any areas in that AWWA report that we can improve on, we need to look at and come up with a plan. We need to evaluate our validity scores each year. We need to look at the last score and make sure that it's within state guidelines, and right now we are. We need to look at which categories the city can improve in. We need to make sure that the validity score is going to be above 70 in 2015. We need to evaluate our water loss. We need to make sure that our lost revenues are within the state guidelines. We need to know where and how the city can reduce water loss. We need to make sure that the non-revenue water is below 25% in 2015. And we need to make sure that the governing body of these is aware of the new state requirements and any recommended changes, which that's why I'm here tonight, is to let you know of these changes. And we need to design expenditures to help reduce future water losses, and that could be, expenditure could be the meter replacement system, making sure that we have a good system there, making sure that we are taking care of all of our leaks and any other water loss issues. Sample of some of these changes that we could work on is the meter accuracy goals, the meter changeout policy, the electronic meter reading and billing, and I'm proud to say that we have about 8,000 of our electronic meters in the ground now. We have approximately 11,000, maybe 11,500 customers, so we have had really, really good success this last 16, 18 months in getting those meters changed out, and we look really, really close to getting the residential changed out in the next few months. We will have to, once we get the residential changed out, we will have to look at bidding out the commercial and industrial meters because they are larger meters and a little more complex than just changing out a residential. And of course, we need to prepare ourselves for the goal to meter all water purchases with the highest degree of accuracy that we possibly can. It's very hard to meter every single drop of water that goes through the city because we do have leaks. We do have people that are connecting to our fire hydrants and using them for construction. So we need to be more aware, and employees need to be more look out more for anything like that where someone is using our water and it's not being metered or they're not being charged for it. We do have a lot of construction that will come in and put a deposit on a meter, and we do charge them for that type of usage, but there are still some that we have seen and we know of that will just go to these apartment complexes, and they'll just hook up to, you know, any hydrant that they can find to do landscaping or whatever. So, you know, if anything that we can see to improve our water loss or our validity scores, we need to be working on them, because obviously the state is going to hold us to our higher grading system they ever have in the past by adding those two new requirements. Anybody have any questions?
No more questions. Since I've been sworn in the 18th, I think the most complaints I've had had to do with the water department. But y'all done a good job trying to work through it, and I appreciate it. And the people know that we're working hard to improve the
Yes, we are
the
working
service.
really hard. It's a very hard department because you know, those bills come around every month, and you know,
Since 18th, I think the water department is, I pulled most of my hair out with complaints.
I know you have.
With
I know
that,
you have.
but
You're not gonna have any hair at all. It's over.
but y'all do a good job, and
Yeah.
y'all
I
work
mean,
hard.
we try to
and I
work with
appreciate it.
customers, you know, if a customer will come to us before they get into a situation where they can't pay their bills, it's more helpful and will benefit them the most than to waiting until after they've been disconnected, because once they're disconnected, our hands are tied. We have lots of policies and rules and regulations that we have to go by, and the board has set these rules, and we're trying to enforce the policies, and you know, the water billing department is just trying to do their job.
Yeah, a lot of times, y'all's hands is tied, you know, y'all
Right.
got to go by what y'all got to go by. And, you know, that's just the way it is. And
Yep.
Thank you. Thank
I've
you.
got a question.
Okay.
Are there any, the flyers that come in the bill, is there any education for the citizens to let them know if they see someone that's hooking up, they have a number that they can call?
There are lots of numbers on the back of the actual bill. I don't know specifically. I can talk to Allison, and we can review that to see if there's, you know, some information we can put on there.
How do you distinguish if they come in and they legitimately pay to rent that? Is there a sign or something that they could use, or how do you know? If I pass by two construction sites and one actually came to you and did what they were supposed to do, and one didn't, how would I know that?
We wouldn't know that unless someone came to us and told us, hey, you know, you've got a truck out at a certain address. Are they legal? You know, I don't see a meter on the hydrant. It looks like they just straight piped it in, or they just got a hose hooked up to it. Generally, if there's a meter between the hose and the hydrant, then it's legitimate.
Okay.
But if there's a hose going straight into the hydrant, it would not
The
be.
reason I asked it, I think that's something that would be beneficial if we could.
We have
on
had a
that-
lot of customers to call us and say, hey, you know, they're filling up a tank over here at the apartment complex. They're doing some irrigation, some landscaping, and they're filling up their water tank. And we have went right over there and but, you know, it is, you know, we do like for our citizens to let us know, because, you know, if we're having a lot of water loss, it's costing us more money, and it's costing the residents more money.
I have a question too, and it's nothing to do with this, but it is about the water. It's been a while, maybe an attorney question to Bruce, but we haven't heard any update on our lawsuit with the Corps, and anybody have any update on that? It's been probably a year or so.
There's not a whole lot going on with that right now. They're still kind of talking back and forth with the Corps of Engineers, and it's really kind of at a standstill right now. But it is still in motion, and you know, all of the different water companies in the county are participating in that, and we've not had a meeting in some time, but you know, it is something that we can check on and see where we are. But things are still in motion. We have some experts that are working on some things, and we're just trying to find the best approach to get changes made. And with the change in the state, I mean the federal government, the Congress and whatnot, you know, some of those changes may be more favorable at this point. I don't know.
Bruce, I'm not sure if the rest of the board is aware of what Tom is asking, but and I will try to briefly explain it, and someone else may have to join in, but the city purchased water rights from Percy Priest Lake years ago. And at that time, we purchased what we thought would be enough to serve the city for years and years to come, even with build-outs. And a couple of years ago, they came before the board and said, we made some mistakes in that calculation, and we think you owe us about $2 million more.
We
So-
originally paid about $1.8 million. This is probably about 12, 15 years ago. And we bought 10 million gallons per day, which is what we planned for the build out of the city. They did come back a few years ago and said that they're basing it based on a different drought year now, and so it's changed. Our argument is we bought 10 million gallons, and they're looking at it in elevations instead of the actual number of gallons. So, you know, that's the big argument, and we're just trying to get what we paid for essentially. And you know, they do want another $2.1 million or whatever it is, and you know, it doesn't make sense when they say, pay us more money, it'll be okay, you know. There's something
And I
wrong
think
there.
that they had done this to the other cities around the area, and we've
Basically
all
all the
joined
ones
in
around.
together in a legal issue with that. And I can give an update on the rate study if you'd like. We have contacted MTAS to do a rate study. I think we had something on the agenda last month. I did hear from Ralph Cross this week. He has gotten some of our documentation to start the rate study. He is waiting on a little bit more information from us. He did say it probably would be after the first of the year, possibly the 1st of February before he gets started on it. He's working on several rate studies for other cities right now, other cities close to us that are also going through the same issues that we are. And he also is doing a lot of teaching in the month of January, so that's kind of put him behind a little bit. But he said his whole year next year has already been booked up for water rate studies, so we were lucky to get in when we did. Any other questions?
Anybody else have anything for Phyllis? Phyllis, thank you. Thank you very much. We don't have a number 9.
No,
We're down to mayor and alderman comments. We'll start with Alderman Melissa Brown.
I don't have anything today.
Okay. What about Alderman Tom Broker?
I don't have anything other than wish everyone a Merry Christmas. I also want to bring up Saturday night is our 4th annual Parade of Lights. Are we still taking applications if people want to get in?
We've taken a couple more today too. I'm not sure what the deadline on that was. Julie's not in here, but yeah, I think up until.
It was today, but if you wanted to extend it.
Yeah, and I think we'll probably extend it for another day or so.
Mind if I give your number out?
No, it's fine.
793-3224?
Yep.
Okay. Other than that, just everyone have a safe and happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Alderman Calvin Jones.
I was trying to look this up real quick. Is there anyone here from that can send Kevin Douglas my condolences? I received a message.
Yes, sir. We want to.
Thank you very much.
Vice Mayor Sherry Green.
I don't really have a lot. I just wish everybody would have happy holidays and be careful and try to participate in the things that everybody's planned for us to do. Now, I can't run and I won't run against Tom, but
You probably win.
I doubt it. I doubt it. That's it.
I don't have a whole lot, but I've had a lot of calls in the last few days about blasting. Dennis, you want to get up and tell them something about that blasting on the other side of the interstate? Because I've had a lot of calls and might clear a lot of stuff up.
Maybe I can clear up a little bit. Obviously, we do have a blasting permit requirement, and it is just so that we know who's doing the blasting and to make sure that they are following state guidelines. When they set up to do a blasting, they typically hire a third-party geotech person who sets up scales to measure the blasting, and as long as they stay under that state regulation, they can blast. Now, the ordinance has that they can only blast between regular work hours, which is like from 8 to 4:30. And if anyone has a complaint, they can typically call our office, and I can provide them a phone number for someone that they can call.
But other than the time they blast, most of the blasting is state regulated, right?
That's correct, yeah.
So our hands is pretty well tied, other than the hours of operation.
Unless they have an incident where they got fly rock or where they're doing something dangerous. It's Jimmy Sanders with the state of Tennessee is over all the blasting.
Okay. So you guys, if somebody has any issues, they can call you, and you got a number they can
contact
call.
our office, and I'll give them who's doing the blasting.
Okay. Thank you, Dennis.
Yes, sir.
With no more, I'll call this workshop adjourned.